Three, two, one, boom. And we were back in another episode of Socratic Gamers. This episode sponsored by Zenreal Clothing Co. Pick up your tees and or accessories at zenrealclothingco.com or check out the free playlists on Zenreal Radio. All of it available at zenrealclothingco.com. Make sure if you're going to check out, use offer code SG Podcast for 20% off select items. Okay, so prior to what we're about to talk about, we were actually discussing this yesterday as we were hanging out, and I was thinking like, okay, we'll just do a puff piece, right? Like a technology related like podcast, you know? Mm-hmm. And then like, it got me really thinking about, like I went home and I was like thinking about, maybe this is not the right time. Cause I was thinking, all right, so primarily this came about because, like the Blackout Tuesday thing.
Yeah.
So like there was the Blackout Tuesday, and then there's the Muted campaign, which is like elevate melanated voices, something like that. The hashtag. So I was doing that one, which is like you leave the airways free for 7 days, so that only like Black Lives Matter related content appears in the feed, right? And a lot of people were doing that. And then like Blackout Tuesday, so I saw like some companies doing it and I was like pretty impressed. But then it got me thinking, like, what happens after this is done? Like when on Monday when I'm like, okay, I'll start posting again, is it like everything's back to normal? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And like it felt kind of weird too, because I saw like all this Blackout Tuesday stuff, and like so many people like on my feed were like, oh, super in support of it. They're making these t-shirts like, oh, if you buy this, all the profits will go to these charities, et cetera, et cetera. And then the next day, which is like mm-hmm. Wednesday, boom, everything back to normal, back to like self-promotion. And like, it's almost like we forgot, you know what I mean? It was like, for me, it felt more like important than it was expressed on social media,
Yeah.
And like, and then that got me thinking. I was like, all right, so like, what am I going to start posting? And it's like, to go back to the normal seems very, like.
You're breaking up a bit, like a lot. I can't really hear what you're saying.
Oh, really? Okay, so my bad. Maybe it's my internet. No, I'm on 5G. Still bad?
You just continue. Let's see. Oh.
Okay. So I was like, okay, everyone just like went back to normal, right? The next day. And then it got me thinking like if I also went back to normal, it's like, what does that mean for, like, did it really matter to you? Did you really care? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there are some people that are still posting, like, like Jason Momoa, he's doing a bunch, like Pusha T, all this stuff. Like, they're really constantly, like, as the protests continue on, they're continuing on of their coverage, and their promotion of it, right?
Yeah.
So, like, it's a weird like millennial thing, that we're super active on social, but then we don't follow it up past the hashtag date.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, mm-hmm. what do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it is. The thing is, that became more popular than Black Lives Matter on the day of Black, right? Like, that was what was more talked about versus actually what was the actual news about it.
Right, totally. I agree with you. Like, and then the mistake of, but I mean, this is pretty obvious for like social media. If you like hashtag Black Lives Matter, then you click on that feed and it's all just like black squares.
Yeah.
It's like,
and that was happening a lot, right, on that day too. So it was like, I don't know if that message was the right way of doing it necessarily. Like, it really work as to what they wanted it to, I guess.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, I feel that too, and it's like, but also at the same time, it's like
Mm-hmm.
we what you see on social media is like the people like heavily posting about it are the ones like directly in it, you know. So like if you see in like the Canadian posts, it's like it's not the same response that you're seeing in America. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
So was this thing only on, I guess, Instagram?
I mean, that's where I feel like all the other platforms are dead. Like to me, like I don't look at Facebook too much. I saw nobody do it on Facebook, and also for Twitter, I didn't see it.
Well, yeah, Twitter. It makes sense because I think it is only for Instagram. Because, right.
Oh, but
It's
because
not.
what? Sorry, say it again.
I think it's only for Instagram because of it's just a black. Um,
Square.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
totally.
not not a Twitter. I would say. Like I
Right.
didn't see it on Twitter. Yeah. But
Okay,
the like,
totally.
but like the discussion of the issue with it or whatever was like that was going on.
On Twitter.
Yeah, like the discussion of why it's um why it wasn't working or um that it was taking over a hashtag that like it didn't do what it was intended to do.
Right. Totally, totally. And that's I think that's why they have that hashtag like Blackout Tuesday. You know. So then
Yeah,
all
I know. But then people would do both, right? You're it's like I don't like a lot of people don't get that information. They just like they'll post about it, then they're like, okay, I'll do that too,
right,
like that, and then not really know the full information
right,
of how you're
totally,
supposed to do it.
totally. It is cutting out oddly. I wonder,
Yeah,
I wonder if that's like your internet, my internet. I mean, I'm on 5G. Are you?
yeah. When you keep saying 5G, people think that we have 5G. There's no 5G.
It's just named 5G, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Are you in like a different part of the house? Maybe my computer's just like I closed all the other programs. This is
No, there's nothing like that here. I don't know. It could be like like to be like the server could be very busy. That could cause these sort of things. I don't know.
because of what's going on right now.
No, not necessarily what's going. I don't know, like the back end of stuff because we didn't have this issue before.
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll soldier through and we'll see. We'll see if we cut out. Sorry if you're listening to this. It's a little choppy because of the internet. Um, okay, so that being said, I was thinking that I because prior to this whole COVID thing, I was doing like primarily like motivational stuff and like Young Yoda, and like I'll still do that, but like with the daily workouts and stuff, it just seems so like superficial now. You know what I mean? Like it made sense because it's like COVID, we're all at home, but then like there's a way more pressing issue. Like I just didn't want to be like everyone else where like you jump back on and it's like business as usual. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It seems weird. It's like if you like how could you not address what's going like how could you not connect what's going on with what you're doing, and it just makes you seem tone deaf. Like everyone that I see that are posting back to normal, it's like it just feels super tone deaf to me, you know? Or
Yeah,
disingenuous. It seemed like you cared only as much as that hashtag mattered.
yeah. I think that's the thing. Yeah, if you just posted it just for joining in kind of thing, and then not really like that was it, and after that, there's nothing at all about it.
Right.
Uh, then yeah, it's very disingenuous. But uh, I don't know. It's a difficult thing. Like social media and stuff is a very it feels like it's a very like a selfish sort of thing. Like it's more about you versus you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like
so social media. Yeah, totally. I get what you're saying. Like self promotion and stuff.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Like, like I can already feel it. Like it. that I don't know if you feel it, but it's like I'm getting less and less kind of coverage or on that uh on
Topic.
all the on the protests and stuff. Do you feel that like it's as the week is coming to an end?
Yeah. I mean, like I felt it the day after is very odd. Like literally the day
Mm-hmm.
after, or not even the day after, because you can see when they posted. It's like a couple hours after it
Right.
ended.
Right.
It's like you're already posting
Yeah.
about like self promotion stuff, and it's like very odd to like. I get it if you're like a meme account or like I don't know, like, but still, even meme accounts are still posting about it. I don't know. It's
Yeah, but I still I don't know. Maybe it's again this is what your feed shows up like, right, based on what you
have been
like.
tapping. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So it's like I don't feel like it's as much focused on it. Maybe
Right,
that's because people aren't posting about it, right? More people are posting about it. Whatever. Um, I don't know. Yeah, it's
yeah, it's
like like I if anything, I think what people should really get out of it, because most of the people that are doing the are young people, and I think if you really want the change or want to see the changes, you have to go out and vote.
right, right.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
and really, if you don't vote after all this, it's I don't know how things are going to change, because then like you can see the rhetoric that Trump has set that does not comply with what Black Lives Matter want, right?
right.
From so uh, I don't know. Um,
It's
like they don't, yeah.
it.
Like it uh this is a much more different level of like Black Lives Matter has been there for a, a while now, for a few years,
Uh
but
huh.
there's been like pockets of when it became popular and then it died down and stuff. But this one was a bit more like the world really got into it, which was
Yeah, totally.
very interesting to see that.
Well, hold on. I'm just gonna pause you really quick, and so if you're listening to this, you're gonna hear like an abrupt stop. But I'm going to pause this, restart my computer, and then hopefully, it'll fix itself because like my computer's like crying with the fan right now. All right,
Oh,
so just give me like 2 seconds. I'm just gonna restart my computer. Hopefully that will fix it because I'm like I don't really know what else it could be. So bear with us as we hit stop right now. Okay, and we're back. Hopefully that fixed the issue. Shut down the computer. Fan stopped. Starting to kick back in. I don't know what's going on. And then I switched to the Wi-Fi for all you tech people out there. You were gonna say something?
was I?
Oh, okay. Never mind. I guess not. Okay, so we left off with the fact that if it could feel disingenuous, and if we don't vote, nothing will change. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff that the um, politicians are saying or whatnot, it's very much just platitudes at the moment.
Totally.
Um,
Yeah.
right? Like you can agree with the movement and things, but if nothing is really being done, then like that's it's just platitudes then.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. And so so again, that's an American specific thing because, yesterday Trudeau like took a knee, and like I know we can say like, oh, he's just doing that for PR and stuff, but like I don't know, he really won me over when he made marijuana legal because I was like, whoa, that's a big thing, And then taking this
Hmm.
knee, it's like, okay, you're really listening to the people. Like I feel, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why voting matters, right? I mean,
Yeah, 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 totally. I mean, like the only other person I could see, but like their track record hasn't really shown anything yet is Jagmeet Singh. I think that's his name, Jagmeet
hmm
Singh, because
yeah.
like he's like very in touch. Like he does like a lot of social media stuff, and I like that. But but yeah, like
I don't know.
what else has he
I
done? I
don't
don't
have.
know.
Yeah, I don't know about. Well, I guess I'll need to see more, but I wouldn't. I'm not really like you can do the social media thing, but that's all you're doing to get the. Like I get it. you're trying to gain votes, but it's for me it is again like
It's like a
what are you
gimmick.
actually? Yeah, yeah, that's what I feel like that it is. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I agree with you. That's why, like, for me, I really like Trump as leader. Plus, he does boxing, so that's cool. He's like Batman, basically. Um, but
Hmm.
yeah, so yeah, I agree with you. Like, voting does matter because it's like you might hate Trump, but it's like, but did you vote against him? Did you take the time
Yeah.
to go out and like vote for some? Even if you say like, I get it though, like totally, like the shit disturbers right before this all happened. I mean, like even like fun fact, I've been saying this for a while. I don't know if said it live or to you even, but me and Wab, we'd go on these
Yeah.
walks, and then like when this was like so many years ago, and then we were saying like, oh, it'd be so funny if like Trump actually won because it would be like, what did that mean
Yeah,
to the world?
yeah. I remember you saying that to me.
Yeah, so it's like but now it's like, okay, we had 4 years of it. You see what the issue is. It's like now we got to revote. Like I think that's what a lot of people were doing. They were like, they were sick of the establishment, which they were. They wanted somebody new. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but now it's like if he gets 4 more years, I don't even know what that means.
Hmm.
Do you see that thing in Washington? Oh, I think I told you this yesterday, but I don't know if you had a chance to check it out. But like the Black Lives Matter on the pavement.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I thought it was super cool too, especially because it was commissioned by the mayor. It's like, okay,
It's
you're,
it's a bit of a slap in the face to Trump, right?
yeah,
So that's
especially
kind of
because of Washington, right? So it's like,
yeah,
damn.
yeah. So it was kind of
But like,
it.
see, I think
Yeah,
things like that are super important, and like
yeah.
with all that's going on, it's like, so if you have to look at the good and the bad, and it's just such a battle right now, right? Like speaking in Canadian terms because we're Canadian. So like when the protests happened, people were boarding up their stores and like people were worried. We didn't have the crazy looting. I mean, they were worried because of like social media. They're like, oh, maybe they're gonna loot, but it's like no. When they took the knee, like the police chief or whatever, he like came and took a knee too. He's
Yeah.
also black. I was like, whoa. So like we don't have the same level they have there. So it's important to make that distinction. I mean, obviously we do have it. We have it worse for like Native Americans. Nobody's even talking about Native American lives.
Hmm. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
that I would say that's more of our issue, like Native American reserves, and all that, like what we did.
Yeah, there has been some really bad like history stuff around that, like really bad stuff.
Right, totally. And like I
uh,
think we're
like,
we're
like
yeah.
I think they were like what I can remember, if I hopefully I'm getting this correct, but it's like they were like taking kids from them and like they put them into a school to kind of like reprogram their learning and
No way. Wow.
yeah, there was something like that. Yeah, it was like some that's some really bad stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty
But,
crazy.
yeah.
But like so like how far back do you want to go? You know what I mean? Like but I feel like that is more of the Canadian issue that we're not really. I know like that whole thing about like all lives matter and like how can all lives matter if Black lives don't matter? You know what I mean? But like that
Yeah.
it's important to remember that one as well. I don't know. It's weird because like it's like for me, I'm feeling like I don't know how you're feeling. I'm not sure. Like I would like to ask you after this, but like I'm feeling like very uneasy. You know what I mean? Like with the COVID thing, I was like, okay, whatever, sure, this is gonna happen. And then we're starting.
Hmm.
Then all the stuff we talked about, all the changes. It's like, okay, this is pretty messed up. And then now, like this Black Lives Matter thing happening, and it's like, okay, now we're, what's next? Like they're making that joke about 2020 was the craziest year ever. Like Kobe died, wildfires, COVID, Black Lives Matter. What's
Yeah.
next? Like aliens. But then I was thinking we already released the alien footage, so that's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mean what else is to come?
Yeah, and it's just like it's hard to like I mean, you know, the sun doesn't come until after the rain, so it's like maybe there's something good that'll come. Like this could be the time that we wake up from it. Like, how are you feeling? Does it make you feel uneasy, or is that just me?
Uneasy, not necessarily. I think that it's uh like there hasn't been this level of attention around it that I think at this point it feels like there should be something must be done out of all this. Um, in a better way, I guess.
Right, totally.
Uh, Uneasy. Well, I don't know. Like with the COVID and everything, it's like, are we gonna have? Are we heading into a depression?
Oh, that was the other thing. I totally forgot about
Right.
that. Like, what
That.
happens after this? Like, the economy's still on shaky ground. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
even that, or even another thing, like, even like job security, right? Like, I've been a freelancer for so long, so it doesn't really like worry me to to have to figure out how to get income again. But like, it's weird how like revolving like contracts are, especially with this. Like, if your company is like reliant upon government subsidies, and then if those subsidies go away, then your job goes away. It's kind of like, so when's this gonna end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's also another thing, because like, yeah, job loss is huge. Recession, like you said, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, and then that it will impact everybody, right? I mean, it has already. At least this COVID stuff has impacted the minority community a lot more. Um,
Yeah, totally.
and with the depression to come, then it'll affect even more people. So it's like,
And I think
uh,
it's like
mhm.
global anxiety is what's settling
Yeah,
in, you know?
yeah, yeah.
It was so funny because like right before, so like I've always wanted to travel to Egypt, right? Like I always thought that was gonna be the end of my bucket list, because like,
Hmm.
who goes to Egypt, bro? You know? And then like when we did it in November, and then this lockdown happened, and then it's like, how long before you'll have money to go on that trip again? How long before those airlines open up again? How long
Yeah,
before tourism opens up there? Because it's like, yeah, we might have the money here, but maybe their economy's like crushed even further, so you can't go see the pyramids anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's it's living with that idea that like, I wanted that to be the last. I thought that was gonna be like the last sacred site that I would see, and it's like, oh my god, is that the last sacred site I'm gonna see? You know what I mean?
right.
Is
It's what it seems like that in the immediate future. But people want some normalcy. They're thriving to go back to normal, right?
yeah,
So
but like, what kind of normalcy?
I understand that, but it's like, I think I don't know when it'll be, but it will be back to the point where you can fly again, right?
Totally, yeah.
It's that's inevitable that of course that will happen. It's just like, when will that happen? That's just that's all that I'm thinking about. When will that happen? That's all.
It was like 10 years, 20 years from now. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah, but I don't think it's gonna be that long.
yeah, hopefully not. Because we
Hopefully
don't
not. Yeah,
know.
I just feel like I mean, yeah, but a lot of things. I feel like it could be. I don't know. Maybe in a couple years, I would say. But maybe I'm too
Optimistic.
optimistic.
Yeah.
But that's yeah, that's just how I feel about it, without
Totally.
any. But yeah,
I
yeah,
saw I saw that haircut places and restaurants are opening up soon.
yeah. This those stage two for Ontario should be sometime next week, and those are included in stage two. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
So
That'll be
that's
good.
why those things are opening up. That's what you're saying.
How many stages do we have? Like 15? What's going on? Like,
I don't know. I think it was 4 or 5 stages. I think.
oh, okay, cool. I saw this thing. I think I mentioned to you, but like, this ex Navy SEAL and UFC fighter. He was like, if we don't see a skyrocket in COVID cases after these protests, we know we've been lied to. And that's a big, like, they might all be asymptomatic, but then what does that mean
Yeah.
about our assumption about this virus?
No, that's one way to look at it, but it could be also that it was already spread through the population prior to or
Right,
during,
right.
that they've already had antibodies. That's also another option.
True. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, true.
Right.
You just never know about the science, and I feel like it was way worse in our heads when it first started than it is
And I don't feel
now.
like, but I don't feel like they lied in that sense. It's like it's a new virus that we don't know anything about. Our
It's like
reaction
as
was very,
information comes,
yeah, exactly,
right?
yeah, yeah. So like, I think the future is is a mix of everything in the sense that I don't think everyone will be able to or will take the vaccine, but it's like
No,
it's one of
I'm
those.
not taking that vaccine.
Yeah, I know, but it's more like that's one of the uh like methods of fighting it
Hmm.
in a sense. So it's not like pushing it to everyone, but it's like if people are wearing masks, and then if some people have taken the vaccines, it's like you would eventually like kill the virus, right?
Right, 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 right. It's like
Mm.
you're coming at it from two ways. We're wearing masks plus you have a vaccine. So it's like you're really trying to snuff this thing out. But it's weird that we don't do that with the common cold, you know?
Hmm. Well, yeah.
It's like it took this, but also from that perspective, it's like I feel like without COVID, we wouldn't have had the time to face these issues.
So that's the thing. So like that's what I thought too. It's like the reason there's so much movement around it this time around, and a lot more people are out there
Hmm.
protesting, is a lot of them are also at home. Prior to that, it was like people were in either school or working, and they didn't have time to go out to these
I
protests.
was just about to say that it's like um, it's like you would have seen it on TV and you're like, that's cool, but I got to get to my job
Yeah,
for 9 a.m. You know,
yeah,
and like
yeah.
nobody's
Or yeah,
willing.
I mean exactly. But even the people working is like they want to go out, but they can't because they have to work,
Right,
right?
totally, totally. Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying.
In support of the protest. So like now they have like there's a lot of young people are getting involved because they don't have jobs right now, they don't have school right now,
Right,
and
totally.
this is it was just like it was just bound to happen anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. And like, but then it creates like a displacement of people who just want anarchy, and then people who really care about the issue.
yeah, I think, but again, it's like 90% of them are peaceful protesting,
Totally,
and
totally. But like, why are you going to? But all right, no, no, okay. So even if it's like 99%, and you have like the one
mhm.
percent that's like looting, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
do you see that video where they pushed the old man and then he hit his head and then he started
yeah,
bleeding? So
yeah,
like, it's like what this really shows is like your true character in times of crisis. It reminds me a lot of like groupthink, like
hmm,
the Nazis, right? When the Nazis started taking over all over Europe and stuff, and like,
yeah,
and then after they were like, why did you do that, right? They were putting like
yeah,
they were being questioned for their crimes, and they were like,
hmm,
oh,
hmm,
it's obedience to authority,
yeah,
you know. And like I feel like some of the police officers kind of have that feeling as well. It's like i'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
i'm
yeah.
i'm just doing my job, you know.
Yeah, even within that, there's been videos, mixed videos of, yes, people just doing their job, but then there was within the cops, there was like if one person reacted badly, there was another one that was like
Good.
good, but in the sense that they would talk back to why, like to that officer.
No, totally, totally.
Um,
But right. But
um,
that's what I'm saying. It's like struggle shows you who you really are, you know?
yeah,
And it's like
right,
when push
right.
comes to shove, are you that type of person or are you that type of person, you know?
Hmm.
And like
Yeah,
one of them is the guy who pushed the old man down, and then the other guy
yeah.
is the one who reprimanded the guy that pushed the old man down. You know what I mean? It's like, and I think
Hmm.
like people haven't been tested in this way to show who they really are. It's like now you see who's really power hungry. Now you see who's really racist. Now you see who's,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly that. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more videos of police brutality in this whole week than we have seen in a long time, right? Like
Yes, yes,
we can actually we're seeing what the black community has been talking about,
totally.
basically.
And so like, people are like, oh, I get educated, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I'm going to spend this week educating myself. But like, I've been listening to, because they're so like wise, but I never really understood what they meant when they were saying it, right? So like a lot of interviewers, like like Vlad TV is a great one if you want to check out like interviews that are like uncensored with
Mm-hmm.
like prominent black artists and stuff. Fun fact though, Vlad is white, so it's kind of funny. They make fun of him all the time. It's like, but you're accepted, Vlad, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But anyways, so it's funny because like when I listen to those, they've often been saying like nothing has changed since the Rodney King days. The only change has been like technology. So you're seeing it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah,
Yeah. Again, yeah. It's nothing has been changed. It goes back to voting again. But so like, okay, this is the thing. Like people
actually,
feel
wait.
like.
Let me pause you there on the voting thing because
Hmm.
I saw that there's this like I don't know if you watched it, but I sent it to the group of like the old white dude, and he was giving you the history of North America, and I was like, that is actually so true. So like one of the things that I found when I went to Egypt was a lot of these like pharaohs. Well, no, they're not pharaohs. Sorry, they're kings. Pharaoh is the house of the king. So these kings were actually black. So I was like, how come, you know, like African Americans are wearing these like Egyptian like emblems? I never got it because I'm like, what, like, is that actually a thing? Because I mean, like, media shows me one thing, so like, why are you guys wearing this? So when you go there, you're like, oh, they're actually, you know, dark skinned. So it makes sense of the whole black royalty thing. And then that guy was giving a rundown of the history of North America, and he's like Portugal got clearance from Britain or something to go travel the world, and then he found North America, and he's like, okay, let's kick these Native Americans out, and then we're just gonna bring all of our, you know,
Yeah.
colonial people over, and then colonialism is what started North America, and then now we're
Yeah.
in stage two of. Like, he didn't say this part, but I'm seeing it. We're in stage two of colonialism, where it's like a lot of us, like you and me, are both first generation. You know,
Hmm.
our parents are immigrants, and then we're the first generation in Canada. So it's like you're seeing a second wave of not colonialism, but like immigration,
Yeah.
right? So he's saying like the reason why there's systemic racism is because North America was built for Europeans
Right.
from the very jump, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like we of course it's going to be like this, you know, and of course the media is going to portray their actors as like, you know, that Exodus movie when like they had like, and there was so much backlash because like Moses was white and like the Pharaoh was white, and they're like, what the
Yeah.
hell
Yeah.
is this, you know? So
Yeah.
it's like if you started from the beginning and all you're doing is trying to make your world great for the
Hmm.
next generation, because like think about it, like we want to make our lives better for our kids, right? If we have kids, like I'm not playing one, but like, you know,
Yeah.
if like, so you want to make life better for your kid, right? And
Hmm.
then they want to make life better for their kid, and then so on and so on. So you're creating a system, right?
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's like you were all European, so of course it's going to be in favor of lighter skin because they were the first ones here. If this was like, you know, like we'll use your race. If the Indians were the first ones here and they would make it good for their kids and their kids and their kids, it's going to be like,
Technically they were, right? Indians first here.
I didn't mean like Native American.
Sorry.
No. Hey, but you know what's funny about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Columbus? He thought he was in India. That's why he called them Indians.
Yeah.
That's why Native Americans are called Indians, because he was just confused. He thought he had made it to India, but he had made it to a different landmass,
Yeah.
and he was like,
It just tells you what a fool he was.
"Yeah, totally, yeah, that's true, it's true." And then like the Spanish, like they rape and pillage, like, you know,
Oh yeah.
this
Yeah.
land.
Yeah.
So it's like if you just look into history, and I read like a lot of, because I'm fascinated by history, because if you understand history, you understand why we're here, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
and like
Hmm.
it's super important to look into it and realize, like, you know, when they're like, so like it's sort of like this, you're I just realized this. So when you say like, oh, I'm going to educate myself, you know, like for this
Hmm.
muted campaign for 1 week, I'm not going to do anything except like stopping listening and learning or something like that, right? Muted listening, learning, that's like the theme.
Hmm.
But if you're not learning about history, then you're like jumping into the middle of the conversation. You know what I mean? Like these people are like, oh, Black Lives Matter. And it's like, totally. But that's like, we've been here for not 1,000 years, but like however long America has been around, right? And it's like, you're jumping later into the conversation, but if you look at the very origin, you'll have a greater perspective of the world, and you'll be more tolerant naturally because you'll understand why we're here. Because right now you're looking at it like you versus me, right? But that's because you think it's separate. But then remember that BBC video, like The Great Human Migration?
Yeah.
And I found like a great 1 minute migration video that I'm going to post on Instagram when I start posting again. But like, we all started from Africa and then we spread out, right? So it's like, if you understand that concept, then there's really no difference between you and me. Like, you're Indian now and I'm Filipino now, but like, if you trace our line, we all come from the same place.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, so how can you have separation? You're jumping too late into the conversation. Just understand how we got here, and then you'll naturally build tolerance through education. You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think, sorry, last point. I think that's what people need to do when they say like, oh, I'm going to educate myself on this issue. It's like, no, just look into history. Like, if you look into history, you'll understand what's going on, you know? But
I think that's what it should be explained as, like, education. Yeah, but education means
on what,
that
though?
includes history.
Totally. So it's like, if you start educating yourself since like the Rodney King thing, let's say, or like Martin Luther King, you know, oh, they were slaves, so they came over here and like now we enslaved them, et cetera, et cetera. And then, you know, it's not systemic racism in terms of, there was no conspiracy, you know.
No. Yeah.
It just happened. It was a natural process of evolution. And when we look at it in this moment in time, this snapshot, we're going to have a distorted view, you know. It's sort of like a good example. So however, how long has the universe been around? Like trillions of years, billions of years?
Yeah, something like that.
So let's say a trillion years. If you were around at the beginning of the trillionth year, you'd be like, oh, this is what the world is, right?
Yeah.
But then if you zoom up to our time, trillion years later, you're like, oh, this is what the world is. So which is correct? You know what I mean? You're having a distorted viewpoint because you didn't look at the trillion years. You're looking at the snapshot.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But that also, the only problem with that too is like, it makes me feel, even though I understand this and you're like, okay, you're going to build tolerance, you're going to understand it, I still feel anxiety because it's like, the entire system is leaning towards one way. You know, you may understand it, but you're not a part of that group that started it, you know? So it's still, you still have like barriers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
It takes years, I think. I feel like it takes maybe generations because it's always about the new way of thinking, but the new way of thinking to flourish, the old way has to go, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure, yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing like a changing of the guard, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
Because like, it really does feel like the world we had post 2020 is not here anymore.
No.
You know? And like, yeah, so like T.I. On his podcast, he was saying that he had this great line, and I was like, oh, that's so true. And obviously, like, we didn't feel it to that extent, like you and I, because we're not Africans, but we still feel it to a degree. So he was saying like to his son, touch the top of the door, and the son's like, oh, that's easy, Dad. And he stretched, touched the top of the door, and he's like, great, now you're gonna have to touch the ceiling, because for other people it'll just be the top of the door, but for you it's always gonna be the ceiling. You know, like, you're gonna have to try harder than everyone else,
Right.
you know. But I mean, obviously, like, think about being a celebrity. You want to be an actor, right? the difficulty to get into that sphere is so hard, right? But like for people who are already actors who have like a body of work, they just have to touch the top of the door. So it'll always be there is what I'm saying. Like there's always going to be like in group, out group
Oh yeah,
hurdles,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
That's. But I think yeah, it's there for everybody. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah, totally.
yeah.
I I find it also it's like kind of like a separate, it's more about the protest, but I feel like it's almost like hypocritical, not hypocritical, but it's like you're creating injustice in order to seek out justice. Do you know what
You're
I'm
talking about
saying?
you're talking about the riots. We're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, like all of it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
collecting together, rioting. That in itself is an injustice, you know? Spray painting things, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's gonna be people that want to do that, right? It's not. It's not. They are different from the protesters, right? In like, I've seen videos where, um, like within the peaceful protesters, someone wants to start something or spray paint something or break something,
And
they
they get
would
stopped. Yeah, totally.
it would be stopped or actually told to the cops that this guy's trying to start something.
Oh, okay, so that's good. Yeah.
So that is what I'm saying. Like where 90% is peaceful, and there are these people that are just want to create chaos just because they have nothing else to do, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
So and yeah, that is like what do you do with looting and rioting? Um, well, the answer is again, it's policing again, right? Like, well, how else do you stop that, right?
Totally. Yeah, yeah. So you need the police just as much as you like hate on them.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's weird. So,
that's
so
why. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Or-
it's crazy with the it's a whole curfew thing too.
oh
It's
yeah,
like
yeah. That's like basically a militarized, like that's like
it's it's like a martial law without
martial law,
calling it.
yeah.
Oh,
Or that's almost like you're like veering towards totalitarianism, you know? You're like, okay, that's the
yeah,
first step, and then the next step is you can only purchase at this hour, and like,
it's very much. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
yeah, it's weird. So, you didn't watch the Jeffrey Epstein thing, right? You didn't finish it. Did you? What episode did you get to?
I don't even think I finished the first episode.
Wow, it was just straight boring to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't, it wasn't like it is like it is a very like sad or bad stuff that happened, but I just like I think it was just the way it was filmed was not a way for me to um
it didn't like capture your attention.
capture my attention in
Right.
that way.
Totally.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I was just looking for the information. So like in it, it shows like Epstein. So like this goes back to, systemic issues. I'm not gonna say racism because it's like it's not really a race issue, but it's like there's always systemic issues like corruption and all that. So like Epstein, he so basically what he did was he was taking these girls that were had some sort of victimization or they were like very susceptible to
Mm-hmm.
issues, and then he would ask them to like I'll give you $200 to give me a massage, right? So they'd like go over and they'd like start massaging him, and then he'd kind of like force them into like sexual acts, right? So
Mm-hmm.
then what he did was he's like, if you bring a friend, I'll give you a free $200. Like so you'll make $400 if you bring a
Right.
friend, right? Or you could just stick with $200. You just become my goat, and you like you herd me a bunch of like people my way, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so think of it like a Ponzi scheme. You know when people are like, "Oh, do you have any friends that I can present this to?" And then they get a
Mm-hmm.
kickback if
Yeah. Yeah.
they. So basically, that's what he created. Like that's how they described it. It's like a crazy sexual Ponzi scheme ring. So that
Mm-hmm.
that was on his end. That was his business end. And then on the other end, you have all these famous people like Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
They were all utilizing his services. Prince Andrew got caught for it. It was just so whack because he was just like, "Oh, I don't remember that photo being taken of us," but
Hmm.
he's in the photo. You know, it's weird. So like, and he's like posing in the photo. It's weird. So like, and they never accused Trump and they never accused Bill Clinton, but they were saying like, you know, they were around. So it's like, why are you going to be around this person? You know, what could you possibly gain by going to his like, and they also like, so like I think Clinton denied going to his island, his like sexcapade
Oh,
island, and
yeah,
then they and then they showed the logs where he signed with the signature like he visited that place like 20 times or something.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, what is this? You know, and then like if you look into other things like how American made, and then like they were bringing the cocaine through Arkansas, and then they were
Hmm.
selling it, and then you get further into it, and like the the government was selling to the drug lords and the people. They were spreading cocaine in the system through like the minority system, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they were the biggest dealers within
Yeah.
their own country. But then you have the war on drugs. So it's like, okay, what does this mean? So what I'm trying getting at is like if you really look into the total of history, like the whole sphere of it, you're like it's so corrupt, and even in that, it just makes it harder to like how are you going to battle against it, you know? It also sounds like
Right.
ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous. Like if I told you this without a documentary or, you know, backing evidence or interviews and stuff like that, or like books,
Hmm.
movies, you'd be like, "No, that's impossible."
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you sound like a conspiracy theorist,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah. Yeah. He was that powerful and that, I guess, influential to these.
yeah, totally. But like, what does that mean about the system? You know, the system's broken. The system's corrupt.
Yeah. That's the whole idea of trying to get money out of politics.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Totally. Totally. But I mean, like even like with the founding fathers, right? It's like I mean, again, this is America. This is not Canada. It's different. I don't even know the history of Canada. It's like, because there's no issues. We're not like I'm sure we're dealing with issues, but we're not like it's not like in your face, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But like so with that, like the founding fathers, like they own slaves too, though. So it's like
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like again, from the jump, you have issues, and
Yeah. What
yeah.
was the? I think it was Dave Chappelle. It reminds me of Dave Chappelle. It's like
Yeah, I know the joke.
they
I know
were
the joke.
writing.
Yeah,
The thing is like all men are created equal. Okay. Like to slave. Like get me something. It's like, yeah. This.
yeah. He was. I just watched that. It's so funny. He's like, hurry up and finish that
Yeah. Yeah.
Constitution and bomb. And I was like, oof. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, and then you hear it, and you're like, oh, Dave Chappelle's like making a ridiculous joke. It's not a joke. He's a genius because he looks into history and then he just presents history in your face. If you watch the Mark Twain Award, I forgot what the word was. Do you remember the word what his mom said you should be? So in
No.
Africa, in Africa, there are these specific people that like they're like in high regard. But like ancient times though,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
they're in
Yeah.
high regard, and like what their job was to transmit history to the rest of the tribe, and like so you passing down history, right?
Hmm.
And like when one dies, he said like when one dies, it's sort of like a library has burned down, right? Because they had so much knowledge. So like his
Yeah.
mom was like, you should be one of those people as you grow up, you know.
Right.
And like, so like when you listen to Dave Chappelle's jokes and stuff, it's like it's not, it's a joke with truth, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
trying
That's
to
why
make
I
it
like them.
funny, you know. So because like I consider like edutainment, you know, like nobody likes nobody likes education because like oh it's so dry, you know, you got to read all those books, oh whatever. But edutainment is like you're entertaining yourself while learning, and I think that's what
Yeah.
he is, you know.
Yeah. That's what he exactly is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's weird, but like okay, so like going into what one of the things that I thought was very unique about the situation is a lot of the things that we so I heard this like you oppress us like African Americans, you oppress us, but you steal all of our culture, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like Elvis took his style from African Americans, you know.
Yeah.
Then Elvis became like Jimi Hendrix, you know, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
like punk rock. Because I was thinking about it, like streetwear, again, African. Like it's like very cool. Like they have a very intense cool factor, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, like 50 Cent, you know, you like
Mm-hmm.
50 Cent. I like all these rappers now, and like, and I was thinking like, oh, but as a kid, like I liked punk rock, right? So it's like, no, that's not, you know, African American influence. But then I was thinking about it before the podcast, and I was like, it is. Actually, if you trace it all the way back, Jimi Hendrix is the one who started distorting his guitars in a way that would provide us with like crazy riffs for the songs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's embedded, and yet they're not elevated, they're brought down,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, it's like it's funny because it seems more like a 2020 thing, that like you and I are acknowledging this because we looked into it, right? So like we're acknowledging it, but like more traditional, you know, like you and I are both Asian, right? So like if you go more into the tradition of being Asian, like dark skin is not coveted, you know? So even there it's like it's because, you know, we were also colonialized, you know,
Yeah.
Britain
Yeah.
Britain Britain took over India. Philippines was taken over by the Spanish and Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's within that system, their systems as well, you know,
Yeah.
that this is
Yeah.
good and this is bad, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It makes.
What I'm
It's
saying is
also
we're
like.
not exempt. Like we're talking about this from a
Yeah. Yeah.
2020
Yeah. Yeah.
perspective, where we're educated and knowledgeable enough to acknowledge what has been happening. But
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want, if you're like listening to this and you're like, oh, it's so great to be Asian, then it's like, no, we have it in our system too. Like, you know, a darker Filipino person is going to be looked down upon as opposed to a lighter Filipino person, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
the same in India. So.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Exactly. So, but also for different reasons, not necessarily because of that, but it's just if you were darker, it meant you were in the fields and you were poor.
Yeah. Same kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I don't know, like, where did that even like within Asia, it's like, how did that start, or like the idea that that was there before probably even Britain came there, I would think.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, okay. For you, Britain,
Also,
I was gonna say, I was like, but the Spanish took us over, so I don't really know before Spanish time.
right. Yeah.
So what are you gonna say?
No, no, no. That, like, I'm not sure. Yeah, even what was it like before, also. But
Like when did dark skin become unfavorable? We don't know.
yeah,
But I know it wasn't like it wasn't because of your race, because they were all the same race, so it made no
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
It
No,
was it was a poor and rich thing.
is this the class system?
Yeah,
Yeah, class.
but it's funny because like now, it's funny how like things change, right? Because like before, people were like, oh, if you're darker, you're in the fields working, whereas I'm in the house and like I'm lighter
Mm-hmm.
skinned, so I didn't have to work. But now it's like in 2020, we look at it, it's like if you're pale, do you just not go outside? You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah, yeah,
I'd rather have a tan because it's like, oh, it means like you're soaking up nature, you know. Different
yeah,
perspective.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Weird worlds. I,
It's a weird world, weird time.
yes. Weird world, weird time. I think maybe that's great. That's going to be the I was thinking the podcast title was going to be the state of affairs, but I think that's funny. Weird world, comma weird time.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know.
So did you
Yeah.
finish the Jeffrey
Oh yeah, it's
Epstein?
only like 4 episodes. I
Okay.
was hooked, man. I was like, how is this guy doing this? And then like, oh, so here's what's crazy. I think we'll leave it on this. So like, I don't know what we're gonna talk. Like we're like, hopefully, I want to get back into tech, and like video games and stuff. But it really felt not. It felt tone deaf to do that, and then put out this podcast. Like, was the first thing I'm gonna start promoting. Oh
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, video games. You're
Of
like,
course,
what?
yeah.
You just didn't pay attention.
Yeah, of course. I mean that's the thing. Yeah, it's like with everything that's going on, you can't really not talk about it,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so the like we'll see what happens in the coming week. We might have to do another one of these recaps if something crazy happens. I don't know. Do you have a prediction? I'm going to save my Jeffrey Epstein thing for the last thing. So, do you have any predictions for when this is going to end, or what do you think? Like, do you think laws are going to change? I mean, laws are changing already because like they did get not laws are changing, but like things are changing because they got charged with higher charges. Those 4 police officers.
Yeah, yeah. The four police officers, yes, and the main guy of it all did get a higher. But yeah, that's one thing. What I'm saying, like, where there needs to be systemic change in the sense,
Totally, yeah.
like to lessen police brutality. So that's needs to happen.
I think what we're looking at is like prior to 2020, it was the colonialism era, right? And then now, post 2020, it's the immigration era. Because like
Hmm.
a lot of them are now first generations who are speaking up. Like a lot of these millennials are probably first generation. You don't have
Yeah,
that many generations prior to you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, so the Jeffrey Epstein thing, crazy. So when they what they found out was so basically he was just running an underage pyramid scheme brothel, right?
Okay, okay, yeah.
Right, that's essentially what he was doing. But then the crazy part is, and this is how they ended it. So okay, all right. So this is a mind blow, dude. Okay. This is why it was so good. So you know how they're like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. They get into this.
Hmm.
So he got charged with. This isn't even new, bro. He got charged back in like 2009 or 2006.
Yeah, I
Something.
knew about that.
So
Yeah.
okay, but the case had been going until he got arrested because they were trying to convict him. But what they wanted was that anybody who is associated with you, like all conspirators, named and unnamed, can be charged.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That means you can look into Clinton, you can look into Andrew, you can look into Trump,
Yeah.
right? So when he went to jail and he allegedly committed suicide, his brother was like, there's no way Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. Like, especially like
Mhm.
so the prison that he was in, they housed like terrorists. So like what the craziness is, the cameras weren't working and the people fell asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how does that happen in a
That's
place with
why exactly. That's why there's like everything was set like as if like set into place for something like this too. Like in the sense of
the murder?
not a suicide. But yeah. Yeah.
So then his brother, Epstein's brother, didn't believe that he committed suicide, so he hired a lawyer. No,
Hmm.
sorry. He hired a detective, and that
Okay.
detective found out that from the way his like neck broke, like there's like some cartilage. The way it broke, he's like it could never have broken in this way if he hung himself. Like
Right.
it broke in a way that like he was killed, like he was like choked or
Mm.
something,
Okay.
right? But why would you want to kill him? Because if he went to trial and he was convicted, then they can look into your conspirators, named and unnamed.
Yeah.
Makes total sense, right?
Yeah.
And what's even
Like
crazier,
that's the thing.
wait, it's even crazier.
Okay. Okay.
So they ended off with that, talking about like his conspirators should come to justice.
Hmm.
I'm kind of worried for the documentary people because like they're about to be killed, like what's going on. So like how can you just straight say that? Anyways, so then one of the witnesses was saying how So like when the FBI went in, the, the descriptions, the description of the mansion he had in New York was spot on. It was like perfect, right? So they
Right.
knew, she knew what she was talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she said that there's also a lead protected room in like the basement or something, and she went in there one time and it was just TVs, right? Like old school
Yeah, yeah,
TVs. He was
yeah,
recording everything that was going on in that house.
yeah. That's what I was about to say. Like,
But
I think he has a record.
he does. But they don't know where those tapes are because that room was emptied when the FBI got there.
Right. Right.
What does
Yeah,
that
there's.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. I knew a lot about the what exactly happened. Uh, I just didn't like the story or where how it started all, right? But like I knew very high people were
We're
mixed in with.
involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Crazy, bro.
yeah.
Crazy. And then, well, one last thing that was kind of gross that Prince Andrew said is, he's like, so the one of the underage girls, she was the one like testifying in the doc, and then she was
Mm-hmm.
saying how like, one of the things he said was like when he first met her, right? Like, so they went to a nightclub, they like had fun, they danced and stuff, and then they went, and she was like, oh, he was sweating all over me. It was so gross. Sorry, it was so
Mm-hmm.
gross, right? So they go back to the townhouse where they were staying, and then Jeffrey Epstein's wife was actually helping orchestrate this entire thing with him, but she denied everything. She's like, "No, I don't remember any of this." Blah blah blah. Right? So
Right.
Jeffrey Epstein's wife, she's like, "Okay, you need to go do what you do for Epstein, but to Prince Andrew, right?" And then
Mm-hmm.
the thing that was gross is like the thing that happened before they went out to the club is he was like talking to her like normal, and he's like, "Oh, how old are you?" Blah blah, and she's like, or no, his Epstein's wife was like, "Guess how old she is?" And then Andrew was like 17, and then she's like, "Oh, how do you know?" And then he's like, "Oh, I have a daughter your age."
Uh,
And it's like, okay, what does that mean, bro? And then you like,
yeah.
and then you did this. It's like that's a little weird to say, like, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's very
Mm.
whack. It was a very whack doc. It
I know
wasn't.
that he got a lot of backlash with that interview.
Oh yeah, in the interview, he's like, I have a condition where I don't even sweat. I don't know what she's talking about. Like
Like,
I have a medical condition where I cannot sweat. Yeah.
that's why they hit him. The Queen hit him away. He's not coming back up for a long time.
Oh really? Eh? Oh dang.
Yeah, after that interview, well, it was kind of like showing what he was like, but it was bad, like
Oh
monarchs.
yeah. Oh, you're cutting out like super heavy again. Yeah. Oh, all right.
Well,
All right. Well, perfect timing because we hit. I think we hit over an hour, including the first part. So, but yeah. So you're saying like monarch system hit him away
yeah, like the Queen hit him away after that interview. I think he won't be coming back
for a while. Yeah. Yeah. It
for a
was
long time. Yeah.
it was weird too because like uh in that interview he did it because he wanted to like he wanted to do the interview, right? He's like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
can like
yeah.
get out of this, and then it backfired, and like people were more like, no, you're even more shady than we thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't work. It didn't work. But yeah, so um, it's important to realize that looking into history is what's going to really educate you, not just looking at this snapshot. And like, I mean, it's systemic from the jump. This systemic issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Any final thoughts? That was my final thought. I was just like summarizing.
No, I think that's it. I mean,
Yeah. New World 2.0. Get ready. Get ready. It's happening.
hmm
Yeah. All right. Till next time, pick up some teas and or accessories at zenrealclothingco.com and check out the free playlists if you don't want to spend any money. There's a lot of dope ones. I'm working on more ones coming out. Oh, I didn't even get into this. Oh no, no, I did get into this about uh, the black the black culture like
Yeah,
influencing style.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I just wanted to say because it reminded me, and when I said like I'm creating more playlists, and I said I was going to talk about it on the podcast before we started, but remember like the man's not hot, and like I was
Mm-hmm.
really into the oh, what's it called, the gentleman rappers. I'm really into like British rap. It's like super cool. It's just like super hip, right? And then I always heard that like Skrillex, he went to Europe and took some of their style to bring back to America. And same with like ASAP Rocky, he went to Europe because they're like the cutting edge of style. And
Mm-hmm.
like because of SoundCloud, it's giving me like suggestions, and I've just been adding them to this playlist that I'm gonna release once I have enough songs on it. But it's really cool. Like I I feel like the British rap scene is so underrated in North America. But of course, because we're looking at North American rap scene, right? But like they're mixing like chill step on top of rap with like a bunch of lingo that we're gonna pick up on, later, for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because like one day, like ASAP Rocky's gonna go there, and then he's gonna come back, and he's gonna bring like a term, and then that term's gonna blow up in America and Canada. But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but no, they've been saying it for like years.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyways, that was just my final thought. All right, till next time. Take it easy, Vish.
Peace.
Bye.